Welcome to the Actor's Choice, where the actors and actresses have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting by actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, direct from Hollywood, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Brewington, and welcome to the Actor's Choice. Roll it, Tony.
Holden had been hanging around the playground off and on for a while. A couple of boys told me he would stand there, staring at him during lunch. They didn't think anything of it until one day Holden tried to grab one of them through the fence. I went out the next day. There he was.
You know about the shooting last night?
Oh, yes, sir.
We think Holden is the shooter, and he's on the run.
Yeah, the boy he murdered was kidnapped from here. And sometimes a killer will come back.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we will be talking to three veteran actors from three different backgrounds. My first guest is a gentleman who has done numerous tasks, starting with serving his country, the United States of America, as a naval officer. He also served as Assistant Secretary of Commerce during the Reagan administration. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome actor, filmmaker, author, voiceover artist, and executive activist, Carlos C. Campbell. Carlos, welcome to the Actor's Choice, my brother.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Well, indeed. Before we begin, please tell us, where were you born?
Harlem.
Harlem?
188 Edgecombe Avenue.
I know exactly where that is. There's a picture of it right there. You can see somewhere one of the projects in there.
I didn't live in a project. We lived in one of those brownstones.
Oh, yes. In what section of town was that?
Sugar Hill.
Sugar Hill, okay. And then you moved someplace else?
St. Albans, New York.
St. Albans. What was the difference between St. Albans? It's a little bit upscale?
Well, yes, it was. Well, interestingly enough, Edgecombe Avenue is where Count Basie, Joe Louis, W.B. Du Bois, and Paul Robeson lived, right across the street. There was an apartment complex. So when we moved to St. Albans, the Basies ended up living right across the street. And St. Albans was basically a mecca for Black artists and entertainers. For instance, Billie Holiday, Count Basie, Mercer Ellington, Ray Brown, Ella Fitzgerald, Roy Campanella, Bill Kenny and the Ink Spots, John Coltrane, James Brown. So these were the people, and Fats Waller's sons, Maurice and Fats Jr.
Okay. When you went to college after you got of age, but you joined the Navy right after that, right?
Right, I went to Michigan State and then went into officers candidates.
Okay. Now there's a picture count I'm not going to show you. What was it like when you were a first officer in the Navy? Look at you as a flight officer. Yeah.
Well, that was probably one of the best experiences of my life. We flew the reconnaissance missions along the Soviet Union during the Cold War, and particularly during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The missions were highly classified. We lost hundreds of aviators and pilots, crew members during the Cold War, and very little has been written about that. William Burroughs wrote a book called By Any Means Necessary and disclosed the nature of the operations that we participated in. And those were fun years. As exciting and as risky as it was, that was a great time in my life.
Nothing like serving your country, and we thank you very much for that. When you got into the military, before the military, how'd your family feel about you going to the military and doing what you were doing, especially your father?
Well, my father was very supportive. He was not supportive of me being an athlete. In fact, he taught me how to play football at Michigan State after I made the varsity team. So he was an immigrant from Panama, very, very patriotic. In fact, he was a member of the 369th Harlem Hellfighters. So
Recently got the recognition.
Very recently just got recognition for
Yes.
So he was very supportive of the military. He never came to any of my track meets. In my relay team, we won the city, state, county championships. Never came to meets. We ran in the garden at Randall's Island. But when I got commissioned at OCS, he was right there. And the same thing when I graduated from Michigan State. And he even flew out to see me when I was stationed in Barber's Point, Hawaii.
When you say Randall's Island and 369th, you bring back memories to me. I went to aviation high school in New York and Harlem, And we used to have fun there. We used to have a lot of fun there. The next, we have another photo here that we have for you, which here's showing you in uniform. There you go, receiving an award.
That was the Secretary of the Navy's Achievement Medal.
Mm-hmm.
I got that for the facilities planning and design. I designed a building called the Anti-Submarine Classification Analysis Centers, and we put those in 12 bases around the world. And I didn't think I could get it done, but I was able to get it, completed, designed. I worked with a great architect named Charles Kahn. He is 95 years old, and he was the chairman of the Department of Architecture at the University of Kansas. We never lost touch. He's a great architect.
Got you. There was a connection, Carlos, between you and the Navy. Here's a picture I'm talking about. See this handsome young man that we saw yesterday. I found this video, this picture of you. Okay. He's standing there quietly, looking sharp. That's a hint, Tony. Okay. All right. No, the one after that. The one after that. That's the one after that. Anyway, this is when you and the Navy got together and decided to do something. And that was that you were going to be into acting. Please tell us about it.
Well, during my last 4 months on active duty, I was detailed to the Bureau of Navy Personnel at NAV Paris, and they wanted to get more blacks in the officer corps. So there was a program called the Minority Officer Recruiting Effort, MORE program. So of all people, they used me as a model. So my face was on the covers of all of the NROTC, publications, book covers, and they put me in the defense placement manual, and also I did a lot of television shows like To Tell the Truth and public service announcements. So I kind of enjoyed that experience, and I ended up doing a film in the Navy. I did 2 films. One was called Better Than Bulkheads, and my role was that of a psychotic fighter pilot that was, in the right ward. So after that, I studied at Arena Stage, and then I started doing work.
Okay. You also did a film called Day for Life.
I did that in the early 70s with Charlton Heston. Wow. Mario Pellegrini was the director, and I was the lead. I worked an entire week, and that film ended up getting the gold medal at the Virgin Islands Film Festival and the New York International Film Festival.
We just happen to have a clip. Roll it, Tony.
Later on in life, it just seems like a waste of time. Dad, I've been thinking, maybe I could quit school and get a job so I could help you around the house some. That school I'm going to is not teaching me much.
What's this about you quitting school? Now, you just forget it.
Now, listen, I don't want to hear about how bad your school is. I've always found a way to make it, and I'll get by somehow.
Yeah, Dad, I know, but you've been out of work for such a long later on in life.
Wow, that's beautiful, beautiful. How many films have you done, sir?
I never really added them all up, but a couple of dozen at least.
Mm-hmm.
On my resume, I put representative, selected examples, because
yes.
I did a lot of work for United Way, but I only listed the one that got the award, things like that. Did a lot of commercials, but the one I liked was Loving Chevrolet, but I did a lot of commercials.
We're going to save that Loving in just a little bit. We're going to bring it to our audience because we can't let you get out of here without playing that one. I understand you did a documentary.
Well, I've done 7.
Okay.
I produced, directed, and wrote one on kidnapping. The title was Expect the Unexpected. And we did the premiere of that at the Cannes Festival in 2012.
Wow, that's beautiful, beautiful. You worked in the Reagan administration.
Yes, I was in President Reagan's sub-cabinet. I met him when he was the governor. And the dumbest thing I've done in my life, he offered to help me with my acting career. And I didn't want to be beholden to him. But the mere fact that he offered, I was. He worked me. So when he asked me to join the administration, I didn't even have to, I didn't get vetted by the big 3. Deeper, Baker, and Reese. He personally vouched for me. So he had a great relationship with him. I think he was misunderstood by Black folk. I love him. I think he was a phenomenal president. I really do.
Like we say in the Navy, well done, well done. Carlos, you know a lot of folks, my brother. You know a lot of people. My question is, who don't you know? You really do.
You know, it comes from relationships. Like I've lived with Jim Brown since 1970. Now he's been kind and generous enough to invite me to stay at his place. So, you know, that's where I met Muhammad Ali. Just a lot of incredible people. Russ, you know, hang out with him. You're going to meet the world.
Yes.
So it's not me, it's really him. And, you know, like when Sammy Davis Jr. came back to meet with President Nixon, I was his escort for a day. And he is an amazing person. Only 2 people gave me 6 telephone numbers. John, the one who I work for, and Sammy Davis Jr.
That's him on the right, and you're in that picture there also?
Yes, yes. So he said to me, he said, Carlos, my man, when you come to LA, we're going to give you a party. when Jim says he's going to give you a party, he'll invite a half a dozen people over, you know, sit around and have some fun. But Sammy Davis Jr. rented a ballroom, hired George Spencer, and had the world out there. He put me on his arm, takes me around all night. This is my man, Carlos. He works for President Nixon. He's at the White House while I was at HUD. But he took me around, and then at 6 o'clock in the morning, he's out in his limo, and I said, Sammy, I don't know how to thank you. This is fantastic. He says, Carlos, my man, I've got to be on the set in 1 hour. I said, what? You've been up all night? You've got to start shooting in an hour? And he just looked at me and rolled his eyes.
You started doing some talk shows. Please tell us about that.
Well, I did 2. And one called Spaceship Earth. And that was the title that Adlai Stevenson gave Earth when he was an ambassador to the United Nations, saying that, you know, the planet Earth was like a spaceship. So I had Margaret Mead on, John Ehrlichman, people like that. I had another talk show called Challenge I did for WBCA, and you know, just people in and around town. Bill Ford, who worked for the Agency for International Development, Ernie Green from the Little Rock Nine. We were both Spartans of Michigan State, several years behind me. People like that, just a local talk show called Challenge.
Okay, we got a couple of pictures. Here's one of them. Here's the gentleman that you worked with. You know him, John Carlos.
My man, my brother.
Yes.
Another homeboy from Harlem. John is one of the most beautiful, totally committed brothers on the planet. I love John. He's phenomenal. We're all from Harlem, you know, so.
Yes, yes.
We all drank the same water.
Exactly.
No Kool-Aid, but we drank that water.
Yes. He came out of high school the same year I did, so I remember him. I was running for one school, he was running for another school. I was a little skinny guy, and there was this big, muscular guy. The ladies loved him. They loved him. There's something else.
He's played it out.
Yes. There's another gentleman that we want to show you. The gentleman, this man, oh yeah, there you are with Jim Brown.
That's the Hawk. That's the Hawk. My brother. Yeah. I'll talk to Jim about at least twice a week, not about every other week.
Got you. Are you still doing your show?
Oh, you meant the podcast?
Yes.
Yes. We're lining up more guests.
What's the name of it, and how can people hear it?
Well, it's called The Exceptionals, and it's theexceptionals.net. And I've had Bill Toomey, the decathlon champion from '68.
Gotcha.
John Carlos. I've had Jim. And I've got some incredible people lined up. Warren Thompson. He owns Thompson Hospitality. He does about $750 million in business.
Got you. You wrote a couple of books. One of them was called what they call it, New Towns: Another Way to Live.
Right. And Harvey Cox, the theologian.
Yes.
Margaret Mead wrote the epilogue. I got a fellowship from the Ford Foundation and also from the National Endowment for the Arts. And so I wrote the book, and it was a book of the month selection. and I traveled around the country and overseas and did the research.
Excellent, excellent. We only got a short time, but before we leave, we promise you there's a video that we had that you did a commercial for a company called, was that Loving Chevrolet?
Correct.
Tony, roll it, Tony.
This is my bag, and I use what I know about planes and doing other things, like buying a new car. I go around to the service department and take a good look. That's why I bought my car at Loving Chevrolet. Loving Service Department really has control of things. And with the deal in financing, they made me feel like I'm number one. This is my bag.
Carlos, there you are looking G-O-O-D, as always, as always.
That was way back. In
the day.
It's one of my paintings behind me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Indeed.
Point that out.
Because when we were running out of time, I want to thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for the service, sir, that you gave our country. Keep it up, my friend. You're doing good. You're doing good.
Thank you, Rod. I really appreciate it. It was quite an honor to be on your show.
Our honor. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Carlos C. Campbell. This is the Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. We would like to let you know that we're asking our Actor's Choice squad to help us get former baseball player Curt Flood into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, Curt, who passed away January 20th, 1997, he was the husband of one of the most wonderful guests that we had on the show here, renowned actress Judy Pace. Now, all you got to do is go to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/The Actor's Choice, or you can give us call us at 213-349-3941. That's our office. That's 213-349-3941. We sincerely thank each and every one of you for being a part of this magnificent award for a great baseball player. Roll it, Tony.
Blast of the Black Scorpion Warriors.
We need your help. From Universal Pictures and the producers of The Mummy comes an all-new movie.
The crown will be mine.
When a great evil threatens their land, the fate of humanity rests with one man.
I will hunt him down.
Get ready to die.
Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest today is a well-known veteran English actor. Yes, indeed. He is the second most famous actor from a little town in England, then and moved to the United States in 1979 to study history at UC Berkeley. My daughter went to school there, good school. He later leaped to an opportunity to go to the MFA acting program at NYU. Busy guy. He has appeared in over 100 plays. You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Over 100 plays off Broadway, playing an assortment of characters. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome actor and ADR voice artist, Ron, here we go again, Bottitta. Did I say it right?
Well, it's close. It's a lot closer than a lot of people get. It's actually Bottitta.
Bless you, my brother.
Bottitta, yeah. It's,
I love it. I love it.
It's incongruously Sicilian, so, you know, it's just odd. Yeah.
I see. Mm-hmm. First of all, I want to talk for a moment about you being the second most famous actor to come from Clayton, England. Please explain.
Well, actually, it's a little town of 6,000 people in Claygate, in Surrey, just southwest of London. And Terry Jones from Monty Python is from Claygate as well. So I'm clearly not more famous than he is. So I had to cut to being second. But I am marginally more famous than the third most famous actor, which is a dog that played a recurring role in a sitcom in the 70s. So, you know, it's somewhere in between there, between fame and ignominy or whatever the word is.
A little beetle, did you say?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Indeed. By the way, I like your first name. I just want to let you know that while we're on in front of everybody. Ron, how you doing? Nice to meet Ron.
Yeah.
Ron, what made you come here to America?
Well, when I when I was coming up in England in the 70s, going to college was a bit more exclusive in England than it is here. And I didn't help my cause by essentially blowing off my last 2 years of high school. And they take that sort of thing very seriously in England if you want to go to college anywhere. Sorry, it's another phone, another person asking me to see if I want to update my extended warranty or whatever it is.
Gotcha. I get them all the time.
Yeah, so I sort of blew off my last 2 years of college, my last 2 years of high school. So if I had an opportunity to come to the States, and I knew I could go to college here or something of that nature. So I took the opportunity and came. And I've been here ever since. It seemed too good a place to leave, you know?
Gotcha. What was it like getting an acting job back in the day? Here, you from England. A lot of people said, too many English actors here. What do you say? What do you tell them?
I tell them they can go fish. I mean, the odd thing was I didn't really start working professionally until I got out of graduate school at NYU. And then when I started going out there, I mean, you know, I was known as an NYU actor rather than an English actor. So I managed to survive all the years of dialect training at NYU so I could come out with my English accent intact at the end of it. But I've always sort of I've done a lot of Australians. I did a boatload of Irish characters. I worked with Irish rap in the Irish Arts Center in New York, and that's sort of where I got my start. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, people always say there's a lot of English actors here. I think that's probably true, but I'd be more upset if I was a Russian actor here because I mainly play Russians as well as Irish people and Australians, and I would be annoyed at the British actors coming over here and taking all the Russian actors' jobs, you know. I actually did a job. I did one of those procedurals. It was one of those LA Law and Order, NCIS, one of those things where I had a big beard and I looked like an old Russian. So I played a Russian chess player it was filmed over in Plummer Park over there where the Russians all play chess. And while we were setting up, I had numerous Russians come up to me and start speaking to me in Russian, and a little bit put out a joint that I wasn't actually Russian. It's like red for pay, you know what I mean? It's so anyway. So there you are.
Go fishing, huh?
That's what I say. Go fish.
Year was 1979. You got your first IMDb actor credit for a role in a drama movie called Players. Remember that?
Yes. Well, this was it was actually I think it was 1970. The movie came out in 79, but I was going to high school in Wimbledon. And they needed people to come and be spectators at the Wimbledon tennis. I'd never done any acting before. So I thought they had free lunch, and I thought it was a nice sunny day, and I get to be in a film. So I think it was a film with Dino Martin Jr. Obviously, it was about Wimbledon tennis, and I sat there in the crowd and watched. So I thought as a laugh on my IMDb, I'd make that as my first major credit, you know, a face in the crowd at Wimbledon Center Court, 1977.
You played, what was the role you played? A drunken teenager, something like that?
Yes, that's what I was at the time. So I was basically playing myself in the crowd.
You funny, Ron. You fun.
Thank you.
You know, as I prepared to interview today, I noticed several marvelous what I call nuggets. First of all, you got at least one role a year from 1979 to 2004. Your best year was 2007. You had 8 acting roles that year. Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing? One thing.
Go ahead.
Brother, I love to see an actor working. That's what it's all about. Ain't nothing better than that. That's what this show is all about. Working actors.
No, I like that very much.
Thank you.
Everything's sort of been... I didn't start doing TV and film really until... 2002 in my 40s but I'd been working doing theater the whole time before that, and for some reason I didn't pique anyone in the business's interest, so I couldn't get an agent, I couldn't get a manager, I couldn't get anything. But I think that at a certain point, as you might relate, one gets bold enough to be sort of charactery, and then you start getting roles when you stop being like not good enough to be a leading man, not good looking enough to be a leading man. Then suddenly they start looking at the acting when all the, you know, when all the good looks are in the rear view mirror for me. So that sort of happened in my early 40s. But since then, it's been, I've been working a lot, which is nice.
Good. Yes. From 2014 to 2016, you did 5 episodes in a TV series called Suspense. Remember that?
That was a radio series, actually. A really fun radio series called Suspense. It was taking old radio scripts and updating them, sort of that went from the golden age of radio, and they played on this franchise. I played on this franchise. They were all over. They were on XM radio and all that sort of stuff now. That was really fun. It was a really talented writer who adapted all those stories, and I worked with a great group of actors. Yeah, so I did those. That was really fun.
What kind of roles do you like to look for?
Well, I like to look for brilliant leading men who women want and men want to be, but that never really happens. I get a lot of second-rate villains who always get killed or beaten up at the end of the episode. So I don't know, there's something about me that I exude that sort of vulnerable quality that I always get killed or injured at the end of things. But it always makes the leading guy or girl feel better when they beat me up. So, you know, I'm on board. I'll do whatever Hollywood wants me to do.
Yes, indeed.
I trust their impeccable taste.
Got you. You know, my next question, this is one that everybody's asking. Alec Baldwin and the shooting death of a cinematographer. Any thoughts about that?
I've tried to wrap my head around it because I've been on lots of sets with gunplay. I did a Jean-Claude Van Damme film that had lots of gunfire on it, and I actually got shot and killed, like my usual character story. And there's so many fail-safe steps that are taken, and I just don't understand, because what it basically comes down, it's like being a pilot. When you're a pilot, it's ultimately down to you. You know, you can't blame it on anything else. What they call being pilot in command. To me, when someone hands you a firearm, you have to be the ultimate authority in checking the barrels and making sure that chamber is clear before you proceed. You can't be too busy to do that because obviously it's life-threatening. So I mean, I can't imagine the sloppiness. And I you know, that's sort of when I've been on sets, and there's the trickle down effect when the person at the top is whatever their persona is and how they treat the thing, it trickles down all the way through the cast. And I don't know enough about this to comment about, you know, who's ultimately responsible. I haven't seen all the evidence, but that set would have been a scary place to be around firearms, I think. So
you can believe there's going to be some changes in the future. You can believe that.
Well, changes in the sense that the established protocols are really good, but it's a question of whether those established protocols are followed to the letter, and they have to be. So it's the same with fast cars. It's the same with jumping out of windows. You know, there's things that are written in blood. Procedures are written in blood because so many people have been hurt over the years. So the systems are there. They just have to be followed. Yeah.
Back to your biography in 2006. And thank you for your words. I appreciate that. You started work as an ADR voice artist. Please explain to our audience, what is an ADR and what do you do?
I would be happy to, because this is where I've made a boatload of money doing ADR, and I love it. It's a profession I didn't even know existed when I was coming up. So when you have these big movies, for instance, I will use Mad Max Fury Road. I don't know if you saw that film as an example. There was hundreds of extras in there, and secondary roles that don't have names, and they're all fighting. They're fighting, or they're shouting things, or they're having conversations in the background. And if the production was to pay every one of those people who said a word in the movie, they'd have to pay 500 people. So what they'll do on that, we had a crew of 15 of us, and we sat with the director on, I guess would be the equivalent of Zoom then, on the soundstage. And we spent 3 days going through the movie, and every time there was someone in the background who shouted something or had efforts in a fight, we would go there and replace those efforts. And they had people who had they had English people, they had Australians, they had Russians, they had all sorts of people with different dialects and different voices for this post-apocalyptic scenario, this dystopian world of the future. And we'd go in there and replace all the voices that you can see people talking. Or when you see a crowd cheering in the back, we do 10 passes of 15 of us cheering and shouting things, layer those tracks and layer those tracks. That way, they only have to pay 15 people instead of paying 500 people. But you have to be skilled in improvisation. You have to, before one of those days of ADR, you spend a couple of days researching it. If you're going to be on a clipper ship, if it's a pirate movie, you have to go back and figure out terms that you can use. You can't shout, "Okay, you're awesome" to people. You have to fit appropriate language in there. You know, so I did things. I did ADR for a series about Native Americans, and we actually went back and learned some phrases and the phraseology of that native language in order to say things in the background that were appropriate and weren't that wouldn't leap out. So it's a great learning experience, and you have to learn dialects, you have to learn languages. Sometimes you have to be able to improv, and you also have to sometimes match people's lip flap, because if they're saying something, then you have to use appropriate consonants and breath that would use, that would match in. So it's a fascinating job. I love doing it. I'm actually doing it. I did 2 of those last week. I'm doing another one tomorrow on Wednesday. So
we're running out of time, but I just want to get this in. You're currently in rehearsal for a play called The Children. Please tell us about that, sir.
The Children is a contemporary play. It's a new play. It's the LA premiere. It was done at the Royal Court Theatre, I think, in 2015, and then it went to the Manhattan Theatre Club in 2016, I believe. Mm-hmm. It's about 3 old friends in their 60s who've known each other since they worked at a nuclear power plant, and now they meet up again. The third person in a love triangle comes back to this cottage on the coast to try and convince them to go back to work at the nuclear power station, because there's been a Fukushima type event. I don't know if you remember in Fukushima in Japan about 10 years ago, because everyone who's going to be working at the plant to try and get it back under control, to stop it from just completely destroying itself, was going to be exposed to ridiculous amounts of radiation. So this woman comes back to convince her old friends, this couple, since they're retired, to go back and work in the nuclear plant to try and shut it down, even though it means they'll be, death will be advanced. But they're doing it for the children, because that's what you have to do. That's part of your responsibility of living in today's world. So
we got 2 photos. Got you. We got 2 photos. One is actress Elizabeth Elias Huffman.
Yep.
Wonderful lady. She's a recent guest here on our show. What a lady.
Really?
Oh, what a
fantastic.
Lady.
She's great.
Tell her I said hi, please, when you see her.
I absolutely will.
Tell her Ron from Ron.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Will.
Information about how can we get tickets?
It's in the Fountain Theatre. Fountain Theatre. I happen to have a little card here. Hold on just one second. Oh, I'm going off camera. Well, I don't know. Maybe I placed them somewhere special. Okay. But it's at the Fountain Theatre. It opens November 6th. This is the flyer for it. And you can contact the Fountain Theatre at, I would say, fountaintheatre.com. That seems too easy, but that's what it is. Fountain Theatre, TheaTre.com, fountaintheatre.com. Gotcha. And it runs through the end of January.
That means you're going to be working all the way into the new year.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope.
And by the way, a lot of folks don't understand that the Fountain Theatre is a beautiful place. It's a historic treasure.
It is. Yeah. Like me.
Like egg. Oh, okay. Ron, I hate to do this too, but we got to go. We're out of time.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here. Again, special my good friend Lucy Pollock, your publicist. Love that lady.
Great. So do I.
Take care of yourself. Godspeed to you and everything else. And what do you say? Go fishing?
Yeah. Thanks very much, Ron. Pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure here. Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Bottitta.
That's it.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
This is the Actor's Choice. I'm Ron Brewington. Roll it, Tony.
America's newest rock and roll sensation, Richie Valens!
1, 2, 3, 4.
Don't be such a dreamer, man.
My dreams are pure rock and roll.
Richie, I want you to meet Rudy.
What's that?
It's my amp.
It looks like something somebody threw away.
I'm playing it.
Oh, that's Carlos.
Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest today is a veteran understatement. to say he's a veteran. This gentleman has performed in over 105 TV and film acting. He's a founding member of the Latino Theater Company, where he has done numerous productions. I say numerous. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Geoffrey Rivas.
Pleasure to be here. How are you?
How you doing? Good to have you here, Geoffrey. Like I said to someone, I worked with the gentleman who you worked with, the co-founder, Luis, and we had him on the show a while back. And the work that organization is done for not only for Latinos, but for everybody, it's a doggone good theater. Thank you all very much for what you do. Okay.
Thank you. I mean, you know, our mission statement is to be a reflection of what this beautiful city is. So
Amen.
That anyone coming down at any point will see, you know, one of their stories presented on one of our stages.
Got you. Now, my question is, okay, you got on paper 105 IMDb acting credits. So my question to you, sir, is that means if I hit 105 acting credits, that's at least 105 auditions.
At least.
At least.
What people don't understand is for every job you get, you've had to have had at least 10 or more auditions just to get the one job. So multiply that.
We call it the big A, auditions.
Yes.
And, you know, again, as an actor, I always ask actors, because I know a lot of actors have problems with getting on stage, but what's it like having to do an audition? Do you learn anything from it?
Oh, most definitely. In fact, things are changing now because of the pandemic, and now there's this thing called self-taping where you're not interacting. You're just having to do it at home or go to a studio, tape yourself, and then send that tape in. But prior to that, you know, I mean, when you're first starting out, you're in a room full of, you know, 20, 30 other guys that look similarly to you, same height, same build, same color, you know. So it's like, oh, these are all my doubles. And, you know, I hope that the best person gets the job. It may not always necessarily be, but as you start out, you know, you get feedback. They'll bring you in the first time. They'll go, okay, we'll bring you back for the next step. And then you get more and more confidence. And then as you look into that room and the higher up you go, you see who your competition is and you go, hey, I'm in a room with some names that are well known. I must be doing something right. And you're getting feedback again from the director, from the casting director, or sometimes producers, whatnot. And sometimes you can, you know, here's the other thing too that I think actors don't understand. That's our time. I mean, it's very limited. You have 5 minutes, but sometimes when you flub a line or you mess up or you just go blank or you come in too strong or too weak, and then you just give up. And it's like, no, that's your time. And I try to tell my fellow colleagues and the kids that we teach that is your time. You got to own it and take control of it. And if you mess up, start over again. You know, you don't need to apologize. Just say, hey, I'd like to start over. It's your time. And I can tell you one true story is I showed up due to traffic. I was late to an audition. They had already ended it. And I said, well, all right, I walked away. And they said, no, wait, come back. So I felt good about that. So I go into the room, and it's a long conference room, and it's very tight. And I know that everybody sat down at that chair at the very end, and hardly anybody. I said, I'm going to make this guy a little bit more casual. And we start the scene, and I sit on the table, and it's a marble table that's not attached to the legs. And the table flies up. Producer comes flying out of his chair, grabs the table. Everyone is cackling or screaming, and I compose myself. In the back of my head, I'm going, well, that job's gone, but we start over. I do it. I leave. I get a call. Half hour later, you got the job.
Yes.
So,
all right. Yes.
You never know. You have to own that space in those auditions.
Well, you never know. 105. Whew. Let me ask. I got a couple of questions for you. You went to school, let's see, you're native, okay, let's back up. You are a native Californian from where, sir?
Originally from Northern California near Fresno. I was raised in a little town called Sanger, and then we moved to the Bay Area, and we moved around the Bay Area. My dad was lucky enough to get a job with the airline, so we were up in
there's
the
a picture of it right there, San Joaquin Valley. Oh, yes.
Okay, I was born in a small town, Fowler, and then raised in Sanger, and still have quite a few family members that live in Fresno in that area, but did more of my formative years in the Bay Area. And then after high school, I was doing well in soccer and really Prop 13 killed, you know, all the after school programs for us. So just as I was getting into the acting bug bit me, that Prop 13 came in and killed the play we were doing, Tom Sawyer. So as I was getting ready for graduation, I looked for a school that had a soccer program and a drama program, and there was a junior college right above Stanford called Kenyatta College. Mm-hmm. And I went there for 2 years, injured myself, but also, you know, in sports, the higher up you go, and then as in acting too, your strengths and weaknesses show up that much more. So because you're competing at a higher level. And my injuries sort of kept me out of the soccer arena, and I decided to put more of my eggs in the acting basket, and got out of that junior college, got accepted to UCLA, finished up my BA, and then continued, which is very rare to get my master's from UCLA, because usually they feel if you've gone through their undergraduate program, you know, you don't need to stay at the same school to get your master's, but it worked out for me.
Got that, what we call education.
Yes, sir. And it's also just to have something to fall back onto, you know, I mean, with that degree, you know,
you can teach.
Also, yeah, I could teach, or I could, you know, have a higher degree. It could get me into a higher level position or something that I wanted to do.
Your first actor credit came in 1987 with the role of Dr. Morales in the hit TV series, The New Mike Hammer. What a way to get started. Yes.
Yeah, working with
Stacey Keach, yes.
Yeah, I played a brain surgeon. It was amazing. I was like, you know, the funny thing is, I tell my friends, like, my mom's got to tell all of her friends, well, my son's a doctor, he's a lawyer, he's a policeman. They're like, well, how does he hold all these jobs? Well, he's an actor. He gets to play all these roles. So I fulfilled my parents' dream of becoming things that they had wanted me to do.
That is a subject matter that a lot of people have difficulty in this area and understanding, getting the support that you need from family and friends. You decided to choose acting. You know, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to be an actor. Get out of my way. That's what I want to do.
And I thank you for bringing that up, because that is one point I try to you know, we have our theater company has a summer conservative program that runs for 5 weeks. We take in about 20 to 30 underprivileged kids, and we give them the skill set of acting, movement, voice, play analysis, and playwriting. And at the end of that 5 weeks, they've written something collectively that they get to perform. Now, if these children want to be actors, that's great. And we give them all the skill set and help they need. But what I feel that my emphasis is on is creating better citizens of the world by giving them a venue to articulate their thoughts, to really come through with their ideas and have their voice heard. And when they feel that, it empowers them and they become better citizens of the world. Now, whether they choose to go into the acting field or not is subsequential. But, you know, our program is to do that, to get them to build up their confidence, to build up their level of interacting in the community. And, you know, a lot of times these are our first generation kids who are trying to navigate this crazy world that we're in.
I should mention to the audience that you, Geoffrey, you worked in TV and film since 1987 until 2019. You missed only 1 year, 2020. You have worked, constantly working. My hat is off to you, because that's what it's all about. Working actors. Oh, so good. The list of roles that you've had is just off the hook. Dallas, Grey's Anatomy, NYPD Blue, JAG, Walker, Texas Ranger, LA Law, ER, Jake and the Fat Man, Days of Our Lives, got a little soap opera in there, you understand? La Bamba, you was Rudy.
Yes, first film right after graduate. Funny story about that too, real quick, is that, you know, I graduated in '85, quit being a waiter, got when the theater we run now had opened in 1985, under the Los Angeles Theater Center, run by Bill Bushnell and Diane White. And Luis Valdez had his first play after Zoot Suit. It's called I Don't Have to Show You No Stinking Badges. Right. And I came into audition, I got the understudy role, and then that had an extended run and high school shows that I got to do. And then as that was finishing, La Bamba was happening. And I auditioned actually for the role that Isai got. And then I said, let me have one more shot at this. They gave me another shot to come in for Rudy. I came in, I did it, I got it. And, you know, it's been an interesting ride. It's been an interesting ride with that.
You played with some good actors, Lou Diamond Phillips, Issei Morales. Lou, I remember him because he was born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Yes.
I was in the Navy station in Corpus Christi, Texas, and I remember seeing him several times in it. I remember with Selena when a tragedy happened to her. I was there in Corpus for that. Oh well. When you look back at all the work you've done, Geoffrey, you've seen a lot of changes. Definitely, a lot of changes over the years. Definitely. Question: status of Latinos in Hollywood these days?
It's still dismal. You know, I mean, there have been, you know, steps forward, but there's been a lot of steps backward. I mean, I would love to see, you know, more inclusion in the cast, a little bit more diversity in certain casts. The problem is that, you know, that we're not just a homogenous one culture. You know, and we're so close to Mexico that everyone lumps us all together and thinks that we're all Mexican. But, you know, you have Salvadorians, Ecuadorians, Nicaraguans. Then you got people coming from Colombia, Venezuela. So, and our languages are similar, but they're not all the same. And, you know, for each ethnicity, we can tell who's not of that ethnicity because of the certain dialect or the inflections that we say on certain words, or how we use different words to describe different things. That being said, I don't know if that is ultimately the thing that has stopped certain shows, because if you have an all, you know, like say George Lopez was a great show, and I applaud that show. But if you're not Mexican American, do other Latin ethnicities identify with that show? You know, or they go, oh, that's Mexican, he's not Dominican, he's not Venezuelan, he's not Colombian, so can I identify? You know, in the general, yes, but specifically, they may not. So how do we create a show that's going to be not all encompassing, but at least more welcoming of all the ethnicities of Latin descent? You know, that there's a unified either a struggle, is it about a family, you know, things like that. So, but I still think until we get more people behind the scenes, producers, showrunners, the people that are really making those decisions with the studios and with the heads there, making those inroads, I think we're still a few steps behind. And then, you know, there's even Asians and Native Americans who are even behind us. So it's like, how do we bring us all to the table and share part of this large pie that everyone is eating?
Thank you, Geoffrey. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Latino Theater Company have a bunch of events coming on. Would you tell us about it?
Well, because of the pandemic, we've had to pivot to a virtual online viewing of some of our shows. In 2014, we had our first Encuentro where we had 19 theater companies from across the country, Puerto Rico and Canada, that came to our space, and we got to see what the landscape of Latin theater was across that diaspora. And then, which was great, we had workshops, panels. It was a 2.5 weeks of this sort of love fest of other companies coming and sharing and learning from each other. And that was amazing. Then in 2017, we did our second Encuentro where we had 15 companies from even further on the spectrum, from Cuba, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, and across the United States. And then that was also, you know, modeled off the first one. And then we had planned to do our third Encuentro of the world, but the pandemic stopped it. And then we've had to push it to making it virtual. So this coming, this month, November, in 2 weeks, we'll start it. They can go to the latc.org and look at all of our programming that have been selected from the theaters across that's going to be doing virtual. There'll be panels. But the happy thing that we're happy about too is this year we finally get to be back on stage live at the Cathedral downtown, where we do our annual Christmas pageant play, La Virgen de Guadalupe Dios y Nancin, which is the 4 apparitions of the Virgin Mary. And if you haven't been to the cathedral, it's a beautiful building. It's a really huge space, and we have a huge cast of 100 actors and dancers and singers. And you get to experience the retelling of that story. And then we're hoping that, you know, everything goes well through the end of this year, and we'll be back live, and we'll be opening our doors to the public again come next spring.
Is there a telephone number or a website that people could go to get this information?
Yes, our website is www.thelatc.org. thelatc.org.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of people want to see this event, but again, pandemic. Hopefully next year we'll have a better year than we had this year.
Knock on wood.
Indeed. Well, I want to thank you very, very much, Geoffrey, for coming on down. And of course, I want to thank, what's her name again? That lady. Yeah, Lucy Pollock. Yeah, that lady.
Yeah, she's
wonderful lady.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank our sponsors, Harvey Brandman, Photography is an Art, Ron Irwin's Loose Wild, The Way to Lose Weight, Larry Buford's book, To the Future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule, State Farm agent Carla Green, and veteran actor Rob Braunstein's Actors Training School and Actor Space. Much thanks to our guest today, actor, filmmaker, author, voiceover artist, Carlos C. Campbell, actor voice artist, Ron Bottitta, and actor producer, Geoffrey Rivas. And of course, special thanks to our ever-growing worldwide audience. Be well. We'll see you next time.